Welcome to part 2 of our notes, our flip notes on waste management and recycling. In part 1 we took a look at what recycling is, what municipal solid waste is, what's the number one thing thrown into the garbage which ends up in a landfill, which was paper. We also looked at what's the most recycled material, and I had mentioned that that's metal. And now we're going to get into the different things that are recycled. For example, glass. Here's an interesting tidbit about glass. Every month we throw out enough glass bottles and jars to fill up a giant skyscraper. Now the interesting thing about it is that we only 37% of the 28 million plus jars and bottles we produce are actually recycled here in the United States. So there's always room for improvement. Now recycling glass actually saves 50% of the energy needed to make glass from scratch, 20% on air pollution, and 50% on water pollution. A ton of 50% recycled glass actually saves 250 pounds of mining waste. So you can see that it saves us energy and it saves us on air pollution to recycle glass. So we probably should do more of it. Now, the energy saved by recycling one glass bottle could actually run your TV for 3 hours or could light one 100-watt bulb for 4 hours. And glass is one of the longest lasting recyclable man-made materials. Now, one of the other interesting things about glass, because you think about what glass is made out of, it's made up of sand. And it actually may take thousands of years or more to break down in a landfill. And it'll never completely break down, so it'll be nothing, and obviously nothing breaks down into nothing, but glass is sand, so even if it does break down, you can recreate glass out of it. Now newspapers aren't as prominent as they used to be because of the internet. A lot of people will get their newspapers online now, but the amount of wood and paper we throw away each year is enough to heat 50 million homes for 20 years. So that's a lot of wood, that's a lot of paper that we throw out. So you can take time, read some of these other interesting tidbits. Pause the video for a second because there's some neat facts here. Going into paper, every day Americans buy 62 million newspapers and we throw out 44 million of those. So you can see most of it ends up in a landfill. That's the equivalent of dumping 500,000 trees into a landfill every week. Now, one tree can actually filter up to 60 pounds of pollutants, and different trees actually pull in different amounts of CO2, so that it does vary depending on the tree type. And that's the same slide there. Sorry about that. Now, plastics. We all use plastics. Recycling 1 ton of plastic actually saves the equivalent of 1,500 gallons of gasoline. Remember, plastics actually are a polymer, and plastics actually come from petroleum or oil. So we save by recycling it because we don't have to use the oil to create it, and we save the energy from creating it. And recycling, we could recycle all 7 plastics. If you remember in our flipped parts on recycling, if we've gotten those, there's usually, I'm not sure if I'm drawing this quite well, usually there's a triangle and it's got the arrows in it. It looks more like this. And there's a number inside it. Those numbers are called resin codes, and they're numbered 1 through 7. All 7 are recyclables, but 1 and 2 are the most recycled because there's an international market for it. The thing to understand about recycling is we can't just simply say we're going to recycle everything. There has to be a market for it. If no one wants to buy it and make new products out of it, we can't recycle it because what would we do with it? If we recycled it, we'd have to put it into a landfill if no one wanted to buy it and use it anyway. Now, here's an interesting fact. 5 recycled plastic bottles make enough fiber fill to stuff a ski jacket or to make an extra large t-shirt. So if you're wearing a t-shirt while you're watching this video, that t-shirt might have been made from the plastic soda bottles that you drank. Well, you didn't drink the bottles, you drank the soda inside the bottles, but the plastic bottles that you discarded a couple months ago. Aluminum can also be recycled. We all drink aluminum cans, or we use aluminum cans to hold our soda and other beverages. Recycling aluminum actually saves 95% of the energy needed to make aluminum from ore. It reduces pollution by 95%. And what ore were we talking about up above? Well, it's bauxite. 1 pound recycled aluminum actually saves 4 pounds of bauxite ore, and bauxite is where we get aluminum from. And recycling 1 ton of aluminum actually saves the equivalent of 2,350 gallons of gasoline. So that's a lot of energy saved. And this is equivalent to the amount of electricity used by a typical Wisconsin home over a period of 10 years. Sorry about that. That flashes there again. Here's a miscellaneous fact for you. I'm not sure if you guys knew this, but more than 20 million Hershey Kisses are wrapped each day, and they use 133 square miles of tinfoil, and all that tinfoil could be recycled. Now, are you guilty like me of, well, not necessarily eating a lot of Hershey Kisses because I like to do that, but are you guilty just like I am with throwing these out? I never knew those could have been recycled until I did a little research. Office paper. In Wisconsin, we use enough office paper each year to build a 10-foot high wall that's 118 miles long. Now, we recycle 65 miles of that wall, so we do a pretty good job, but we could always do better. Here's some interesting facts. By recycling just 1 ton of paper, we can actually save 17 trees, 6,953 gallons of water, 463 gallons of oil, 587 pounds of air pollutants, and 3 cubic yards of landfill space. So we can save a lot by recycling. Now, I know some of you are thinking, well, if we shouldn't be using why use paper in the beginning? Why don't we just not have any homework on paper? Well, you can use the paper. Using the paper is not the product. We just need to keep recycling our homework and not throwing it into the garbage. Well, that does end part 2, and as I promised, these are a little bit shorter. So, as always, we'll see you on the flip side, and take care.